Let me share one final story with you. A story from long ago, in a small village where I once stayed during pilgrimage. There was a woman, old and frail, known to have lived a hard life. She had outlived her children, lost her husband to war, and battled depression for decades. But every morning, without fail, she lit a lamp in front of a tree outside her home. One day I asked her why. She smiled, eyes filled with wrinkles and grace, and said, "I've lost so much, but the lamp reminds me there is still light in me to offer. Even if it's small, it matters." That, my dear one, is the soul. Not giving up. Not in denial of the pain, but determined to bring light anyway. You may feel small today. You may feel overwhelmed by the past. But just like that woman's lamp, you too can shine, even if only a little. And that little can change everything. Now, listen to me closely. If you are someone who has struggled with addiction, or if someone you love is in that battle, know this: you are not alone. You are never alone. There is a silent army of souls walking beside you. Some you can see, some you cannot. Some in Tao, human form, others in spirit, all whispering the same truth. You are still worthy of love. Maybe you weren't told that as a child. Maybe you've never believed it. But let this moment be different, from me to you. You are worthy, not after you recover, not after you change. Right now, as you are. And that's the beginning of all. Transformation, acceptance. Let's end this time together, not with sadness, but with a blessing. A prayer of remembrance. He softly closes his eyes, hands folded in front of the heart. Monk, voice hushed and gentle. May you remember your light, even when surrounded by shadows. May you find the courage to feel what you once feared. May you trust that your journey, even with its mess and madness, holds sacred meaning. May you forgive yourself for forgetting your own divinity, and may you return, again and again, to the stillness within. When the world is loud, be silent. When the world is fast, go slow. When the world demands, offer presence. And when the world forgets its soul, remember yours. You do not need to save the world. Just save the moment. One breath, one pause, one act of love at a time. I bow to the path you've walked, to the pain you've carried, to the awakening that has already begun. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with your heart. This is not the end, only the beginning of a more conscious way to live. Until next time, stay awake, stay kind, stay true. Peace to you. The ego says, life should be easy. The soul says, life should be meaningful. There is more meaning in one moment of raw awakening than in a lifetime of numb comfort. I remember a young man who came to the monastery after years of heroin addiction. He used to say, I just wanted to feel something, anything. And after months of meditating, fasting, being in silence, he finally cried, not from pain, but from gratitude. He said, now I feel everything. Even the breeze on my skin makes me weep. I didn't know I was this alive. That is the gift, on the other side of the fire. I am not here to shame addiction. I am here to honor the depth it invites us into, and to say, you can return. You can reclaim yourself. You can awaken. Even now, it will not be easy. But the most sacred things never are. They are not easy. They are holy. And perhaps that is why you are listening today. Not because you are addicted, but because, in some way, you are being called to awaken, to feel again, to listen again, to hold your own soul with tenderness. So let me ask you a deeper question, one the soul always leans into. What are you here to learn through your pain? Don't rush to answer. Let it rise slowly. Like smoke from sacred incense, let it reveal itself. We will go further into this journey together, deeper still. But for now, carry this truth with you. The soul chooses experience not to suffer, but to transform. Even addiction can become the fire through which a being is purified, not burnt down, but burned open. There is still more to share. More stories, more wisdom, more light hiding beneath the shadows. But let's pause here. Take a breath, and we shall continue in the final part. Thank you for walking this far with me. Not everyone does. Most people turn back when the road gets quiet, when it begins to echo with their own thoughts. But you stayed, and that means something very powerful. It means the seed of awakening is alive within you. Let us sit together a little longer. You know, in my younger years, I once believed that healing was about fixing something broken. But life, in its quiet wisdom, showed me otherwise. Healing is not fixing. Healing is remembering. Remembering who we were before the pain. Remembering the innocence beneath the scars. Remembering the love that still lives within us, even if we forgot it for a while. Let me ask you gently now, can you forgive yourself? Not just for the addiction, but for the moments you abandoned your own heart. Because here's the truth. I offer you, not as a monk, but as a fellow soul. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your addiction, your shame, your guilt, or your darkness. You are the one who is aware of all of it. The witness, the presence, the light that has never gone out, even if it flickered, it never died. My friend, I want you to ask yourself, what are you using to avoid your silence? Maybe it's not a drug. Maybe it's your phone, your job, your ego, your busyness. Addiction wears many masks, and yet the soul, your soul, is always calling. You back to stillness, back to love, back to purpose. We are just getting started. There is so much more to uncover, so many more sacred stories to explore together. So I ask you, gently, will you walk with me a little further? Welcome back, my dear one. It means something that you've chosen to return. That tells me you are not here just to watch a video, but to remember something your soul has always known. To feel what this life is truly asking of you. Let's continue. You see, the question is not, why are people addicted? The deeper question is, what are we trying to escape? This is not just about substances. Some are addicted to anger, some to approval, some to being the victim, some to being the hero, and all of it, every form of addiction, is rooted in the same wound. The disconnection from the self, the disconnection from presence, the disconnection from the divine within. I once asked a wise teacher, why do we forget who we are? He smiled and replied, because forgetting is part of the remembering. When a soul chooses to walk the path of addiction, it often chooses a life where early wounds will be present, neglect, trauma, abandonment, not because it is cruel, but because those conditions create the soil for awakening. Not all awaken, but all have the seed within. I met an elder once, an alcoholic for over 40 years. He told me, I drank to forget my father, but the more I drank, the more I became like him. There was silence between us, and then he added something I'll never forget. But now, I forgive him, and I forgive myself. The drink is gone, but the lesson remains. That is liberation. Not the absence of pain, but the transformation of it. Let's pause again. Take this moment to place your hand on your heart, gently. Close your eyes if you feel safe to do so. Breathe in deeply and ask yourself, What pain am I still trying to run from? And even more gently, can I sit with it now, just for a little while, without escaping? This is the medicine that the soul craves, not more avoidance, but more witnessing, to be seen by ourselves, to say, I see you, wounded part of me. I see you, frightened child. You are not bad. You are not broken. You are not shameful. You are human. Healing begins the moment we stop hiding from ourselves. Do you know what addiction really is? It is a cry for connection, disguised as destruction. It says, I want to feel alive again. I just don't know how without this thing. But you, yes, you can learn another way. You are already learning it, right here, in this silence, in this presence, in this sacred remembering. You might ask me, but why would a soul choose such a painful path? And I will tell you, again, with love. Because the soul does not measure life the way the ego does. Hello, sit with me, just for a while. Let the noise of the world fade for a moment. Breathe, in and out. Let's talk, not as strangers, but as souls walking through the same mystery, life. Today, I want to share something unusual, something not often spoken aloud. Why would a soul, in its infinite wisdom, choose addiction before even entering the world? Why would a being filled with light knowingly walk into the shadows? It is easy, isn't it, to judge the addicted. They made poor choices. They're weak. They just need discipline. But that is only the surface. You see, my child, when we look only at the surface, we miss the depth. And the soul always lives in the deep. Let me take you back to before you were born. Before the cries, before the breath, before the body. There is a space, a sacred stillness, where every soul rests. In that space, there is clarity, purpose, and choice. Yes, choice. And sometimes, a soul. Knowing the lessons it must learn, the karma it must resolve, the compassion it must awaken, chooses the path of struggle, not as punishment, not as weakness, but as a portal. Addiction is not merely a disease. It is a teacher. It is a mirror, reflecting the hunger of the human condition. Hunger for connection. Hunger for love. Hunger for escape from the pain we do not know how to hold. In my years as a monk, I have sat with addicts, not in temples, but in shelters, jails, on cold pavements in forgotten parts of cities. They taught me something books never could, that the soul never forgets its light, even when buried under the darkest cravings. One man, I'll call him Ravi, once said to me, I'm not addicted to alcohol, I'm addicted to silence. The bottle just gives me a taste of peace for a moment. Do you hear that? It wasn't the drink, it was the longing. And behind that longing, a soul calling out to return home. Let us pause here for a breath. He gently closes his eyes, demonstrating a breath in and out. This breath, it's simple. And yet, how often do we reach for something outside when peace was always inside? Now listen closely, because here is a truth many fear to say. A soul sometimes chooses addiction as a sacred contract, to feel what others fear, to fall into chaos and emerge with compassion, to understand suffering so deeply that they can carry the torch of healing for others. But not all fulfill that journey. Some forget. Some get lost in the fog of the pain. Some don't return. Yet even in their falling, they teach us. Do you remember someone you loved who lost their way? Do not only mourn them, learn from them. Their story is not a tragedy. It is scripture, a scripture of the soul's endurance. I remember a young woman who came to our monastery once. She had been addicted to pills for nearly a decade. Her eyes were tired. Her voice cracked when she spoke. She said, I don't want to die, but I don't know how to live without the numbness. And I told her, "You were never meant to live numb. You were meant to live naked, heart open, pain included. Because pain is not the enemy. Avoidance is." She stayed with us for 40 days. Every day she shook, every night she wept. But slowly, beneath all that trembling, a strength emerged, a quiet power. And one morning, she said, "I finally heard the silence, and it didn't scare me anymore." Do you understand the depth of that statement? For many addicts, silence is terrifying. Because in silence, we hear the truths we've buried,